here that in the month of June I disappear for 2 straight weeks. Usually I'm at a school transportation conference for the first of those 2 weeks, so I'm doing a lot of bus things, and still is like work, but at the same time still very relaxing. And then right after that, my family goes on vacation, so we were planning to leave the Thursday morning, like I was done with conference on Wednesday. Thursday morning, let's get in the car at 6 a.m. and start driving. And I know I'm going to be exhausted, but I should be able to get 4 straight hours of sleep, and we'll go right on the road from there. And at 1 o'clock in the morning, we got woken up by the tornado warnings and everything. And say, yeah, I can't really sleep through that. So it started off kind of wacky. Anyway, we still go on a trip. We still have our adventure time together. And thanks to Mike and Scott for jumping in during those 2 weeks. And it's also been my pattern that during those 2 weeks in June that I already have the sermon series set in advance where it's been laid out like this is what each month is going to be and how we're going to do it. And for this year, because we're doing the months as the birth sons of Jacob in order, it was kind of already set, right? Like we already knew, okay, June is going to be Naphtali, and that's just the way it's going to be. Some months and some years, however, I pick just some random arbitrary thing and say, this is what's going to be the month of June. And sometimes it gets followed, sometimes it doesn't. I really, really don't care if they don't follow it or if they do. But you know what? Hats off to Scott for following Naphtali. Somehow, I feel like I subconsciously choose themes for the month of June that I know I'm not going to have to worry about, like, something that's just difficult to tackle, and hey, it's somebody else's problem. Let them do it. It's June. So, Scott, you've been a real trooper, and Mike, thank you for yours as well. And there's no judgment at all. We're not. That was last month. Dan was last month. There's no judgment on this. But thanks for being a trooper, Scott. And we look forward to you preaching next June with the series that has already been said. It is Latin calculus from the book of 3 John. If you are excited about learning Latin and calculus and things from 3 John, it's all Scott. So enjoy that. And speaking of troopers, I also want to give you a teaser for next week because this is the last week in June. So July, the second half of the year, begins our 7th son, our 7th month, and our 7th series. So we will be tackling next week will be a series called Soldiers with Fortune. Yeah, I noticed. Thanks. Leslie needs a week too to segue in. The last picture was the Latin calculus. So you can put that back up for the overwhelmingness of Latin and calculus together. And then now, next week is Soldiers with Fortune. And even though the study with Jacob is, there's a little bit of information attached to each of these sons. Like, not every son has a lot of scripture to them. Like, we know a lot about Benjamin, we know a lot about Joseph. We don't know a lot about Dan and Naphtali and Gad and Asher. It's mostly just like a line here, and then later on, maybe in Leviticus, we hear that one of them a tribe asked for a certain thing or whatever. So we don't have a lot about the next son, but we do get to talk about his name, which is really cool from an interpretational standpoint. We're not going to discuss it today, but next week, we are going to open up parallel versions of Genesis. And we're going to look side by side at the two different translations of the name of the 7th son. But that's not this son. This son is Naphtali, and his name means my struggle. So I'm sure that my body and mind are grateful that I got to get away and relax and do something, different from normal, like outside of just this regular routine thing. And that's healthy and it's important. It's important for our bodies to get away and to do things. But I can't relax. I absolutely cannot relax. Vacation for me is planning vacation. Like I'm a router by default. Like that's what I do is I route things. I put things on a road and I make them go somewhere. That's comforting to me. So when I decide where we're going on vacation, my vacation is done. I have ended my relaxation the moment we get on the road to go do that thing. No matter where I'm at, no matter what we're doing, there's always a fraction of me that's on edge. I'm always just there's always a little bit of an edge of like, what's going to happen where we are? I'm stressed about weather conditions, or is there too much sun, or when we're at the beach, is there too much intensity in the waves? What am I going to step on if I walk out in there? And if I try to get out in the water to actually relax with the waves and the enjoyment of the ocean, I'm constantly looking back to see, well, is somebody trying to steal our stuff? Because we've left our wallets and things by the umbrella. And so I'm looking back and making sure no one's there, and then are the water conditions still good? And I've got to look back that way. Are there any sharks out there? And it never ends. My brain can't shut off and say, I'm on vacation. I'm relaxing. This is a great place to chill, and we're going to hang out here and just enjoy the time. Can't do it. If there's somewhere that we've never been, there's always a concern in the back of my mind that there is something uniquely dangerous about that place. Which is why I'll probably never go on vacation to Australia. Anybody ever been to Australia in here? Of course not, because you wouldn't have made it back if you had gone to Australia. It looks fascinating in pictures. I would love to see a lot of the cool stuff that's there and to be able to say that I've been to Australia, but Australia has like a billion ways that could potentially kill you. Everything about Australia is designed to take you down. At the beach, you have box jellyfish, you have sharks, you have stonefish that just look like rocks, but they kill you almost instantly if you step on them. Saltwater crocodiles. Like if the shark doesn't get you, the crocodile will, Everywhere else, if you're not in the water, you have tiger snakes, funnel web spiders, killer bees, wasps, a paralysis tick that if it bites you, just makes you go paralyzed. And then at any time while you're driving down the road, a kangaroo could jump onto the road in front of you and wreck your car. It's Australia. And that's just the creatures. That's just the living animal creatures. That's not counting the plants. The plants are just as bad. This is a picture of the Australian gimpy gimpy. It is a bush/tree in Australia. Looks totally harmless, right? Just a green leaf plant. Like, you could just be on a random hike and there's a bush in front of you and like, oh, I'm just going to push this to the side and have it get out of my way so I can go on with my path and my hike. But if one of these innocent-looking leaves touches your skin, there are tiny little needles. Like, you can sort of see them if you look in really close in that picture. Tiny little needles all over the surface of that leaf that get embedded in your skin and inject you with a neurotoxin. And that neurotoxin has been described as having acid poured on you while being electrocuted. And your skin eventually closes over the needles because your body can't reject it and it just absorbs it in. And it can affect you for months, if not years, by just being agitated, touched with cold water, looked at, whatever. That neurotoxin sticks around, that needle stays with you, and you are in pain for months. It has actually been nicknamed the suicide tree because there are stories of people that have jumped off cliffs to make the pain from the leaves stop. As much as I would love to see the entire world, the trip to Australia will be no relaxation for me whatsoever. Even saying the word brings me a little bit of anxiety. There will be constant battle between my body and my mind in regards to what I desire and what troubles me, between what I really hope to do and want to do and what scares me and worries me and bothers me. And for our final sermon in this Bear in the Room series that we have, that's kind of the struggle point that we're talking about. There's a point within all of us where we find ourselves at war. That there's a battle between physical body and desires of the heart, needs and comforts. We have a non-physical side, we have a physical side. What does our soul desire? What does our body desire? We have things that we strive to do, and we have things that our body says, I can't do that, or I don't want to do that, or if I do that, something painful is going to happen. And when those two sides are in disagreement, the struggle inside can be very difficult to bear. The night of Jesus' arrest was one of those times for him, and he shared it with his closest disciples. He brought a few of them away from the group to a much more personal place in the garden, and he started praying. That takes us to Matthew 26:36. Then Jesus went with his disciples to a place called Gethsemane, and he said to them, sit here while I go over there and pray. He took Peter and the two sons of Zebedee along with him, and he began to be sorrowful and troubled. Then he said to them, my soul is overwhelmed with sorrow to the point of death. Stay here and keep watch with me. He's deeply, deeply troubled emotionally. His soul is feeling pain. And he's asking his disciples to do something physical. Just stay here and keep watch with me. Be alert, stay awake, because he knows that's what's going to happen. Keep yourselves awake and watch. He knew the gravity of the events that were about to unfold, and his soul desires to do the will of his Father. But at the same time, that fulfillment will mean excruciating pain, agony, rejection, and heartache. He knows that as a human being, he is going to be feeling these things. He has experienced some of these things already in different capacities. He knows this is going to be an ultimate physical feeling for him as a human. Going a little farther, he fell with his face to the ground and prayed, "My Father, if it is possible, may this cup be taken from me. Yet not as I will, but as you will." Like, is there a substitution possible here? Is there a way that all the fulfillment can still be done, but that doesn't require that particular physical course of events? But again, his spirit is willing. His spirit truly desires to do the will of the Father, which is true of the other men as well. Their spirit is willing to be with Jesus, to be near him, to be in his presence. But their physical nature is not quite as strong as Jesus' is. Verse 40, then he returned to the disciples and found them sleeping. "Couldn't you men keep watch with me for 1 hour?" he asked Peter. "Watch and pray." Again, watch and pray, "so that you will not fall into temptation. The spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak." There is a battle between the two. You may really, truly desire to do this in your heart, but your body is just not having it. That's the struggle. The spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak. The disciples struggled with it. Jesus struggled with it. We struggle with it. Do we not? Our hearts desire to please God, do they not? But our human bodies get hungry. They get tired. They feel pain. And even in a general sense, they just feel discomfort about a situation. It's right there in the moment. Maybe God's will for us is beautifully perfect and our future is just an awesome place to be, but we haven't slept in 2 days. Or maybe there's so much potential good that we could do for the kingdom, but we really need to eat something because it's been too long and my stomach is growling and it's distracting me and I can't think about ministry right now because I'm hungry. Or I know that coworker is put in a place where I am the best person suited for speaking to them, for sharing the gospel with them, for sharing love with them and grace with them. But it's going to change how our relationship is at work. It's going to change the way they think about me and the way every time I see them, that awkward feeling will make for a discomfort that won't feel physically right for me. I won't have comfort while I'm working. The spirit and the flesh can struggle with each other. Verse 42. He went away a second time and prayed. The exact same thing, only from kind of I'm getting it now, but I will still ask it. "My Father, if it is not possible for this cup to be taken away unless I drink it, may your will be done." He still has the same stance, but he's preparing to come to terms with the idea that there is no substitution. There is not a replacement for this that is still going to make his will be fulfilled the right way. It's one of those situations where the physical pain will have to be endured. And this is the situation for Jesus. This is the situation for all of us. The thing that he's contemplating and worrying about, going through the physical attributes of it, is the pain for us. It's the pain that he takes on that is the pain of all pains. The most sorrow, the most agony that will ever be endured by anyone ever. And Jesus was the only one capable of enduring in that situation. It had to be his to bear. And while the rest of us pathetic humans have trouble staying awake to continue praying, Jesus just prayed harder through the physical stress. You can actually look in the book of Luke. We've been going through the account from Matthew. If you go to the doctor's account of it, Matthew 22:44, he gives us this verse, "And being in anguish," in the same situation, "and being in anguish, he prayed more earnestly." Like he's going through the stress. He's dealing with the heartache of it as he's praying fervently to God. Is there a way to take this away? But in that anguish, he just prays even harder. And his sweat was like drops of blood falling falling to the ground. That's how far our bodies can bear. We can be in so much stress that the capillaries surrounding our sweat glands rupture, and the blood seeps into our sweat and pours from our body. That's the point where the body snaps from not giving in to physical desire, from holding on so strong to knowing that your body wants something different, but saying, not yours, or not mine, but yours be done. Your will, I will endure through this. We can reach such a point of stress and such a point of pain, we refuse to succumb to the desire of the flesh. Jesus never said, this is too much. Father, I'd love to do your will, but I can't allow my body to take on that much pain. And because of the stress of his refusal to back out, that refusal there causes him to start shedding blood. And if you think about it, this really is the first shedding blood for us. When we take communion and we're thinking back to the blood that was spilled, this is the beginning of that blood. It began before the cross because of the stress of the cross coming. This is the beginning of blood being poured out for us when he is going through the stress of enduring pain and knowing that he has to take this on. His disciples were not that physically strong. Their flesh won the battle that they were struggling. Verse 43 from Matthew 26 again. When he came back, he again found them sleeping because their eyes were heavy. So he left them and went away once more and prayed a third time, saying the same thing. He couldn't keep fighting that fight with them because he knew what had to be done. He knew the time was approaching. He could not keep arguing with them. It is important for you to stay awake. It is important for you to be a part of this, because their flesh was too weak. Even his three closest disciples, the cream of the crop, could not fight off the desire of their bodies to want sleep. They had no bloody sweat dripping from them as they struggled to stay awake and pray. They didn't plead for another way. They just slept. The struggle that we endure shows obedience. We're focusing hard on obedience during this whole year, basically, because we are studying the Shema. We're studying call and response, and that call and response is a call to obedience. It is showing your obedience when you respond in action to the things that you've heard. What we do physically to show that we have heard a message, the actions that we do to confirm our faith in our hearts, is all part of the obedience. It is all part of Shema. When we don't fall asleep, when we don't walk away from the discomfort of an awkward situation, we can't just assume the crutch of humanity that our bodies are built to be weak and that we have temptations and we have desires and we have needs that have to be satisfied. And that God will understand because that's just how we're built, right? We have to get past that and say, he knows how I was built, but I can fight through these physical urges, these physical desires that are going to be temporary. I am capable of enduring if I'm willing. You are capable of enduring if you're willing. Are we willing? Are we willing to endure? Hebrews 5:8. Son though he was, he learned obedience from what he suffered. And once made perfect, he became the source of eternal salvation for all who obey him. Jesus bore his suffering and showed his obedience. And he set an example for us when he did that. If he's willing to take on the pain of being whipped and mocked and nailed to a cross in obedience to the Father, I should be able to fight through the struggle to have a difficult conversation with a coworker or a family member. We let our physical comforts win too often. We need to understand that the importance of the conflict, the importance of the fight between the desires of our body and the desires of our heart. That yes, those desires are valid. The desires that our body has of hunger and sleep and of comfort, they are valid desires, but they should never take us away from our spiritual walk. Paul understood this in his need for self-discipline. He explained it very well in 1 Corinthians, actually, using a racing metaphor. Do you not know that in a race all the runners run, but everyone gets the prize? Run in such a way as to get the prize. Everyone who competes in the game goes into strict training. They do it to get a crown that will not last, but we do it to get a crown that will last forever. Therefore, I do not run like someone running aimlessly. I do not fight like a boxer beating the air. No, I strike a blow to my body and make it my slave, so that after I have preached to others, I myself will not be disqualified for the prize. He pushes through the physical. He doesn't allow the physical to make him a slave. The other thing that we learn from this entire concept and what happened with Jesus in Gethsemane, his prayer, all that fell into place from his desires fighting with each other is a substitutionary sacrifice. In times of struggle, we seek out ways of having the pain replaced. Jesus prayed for it in the garden that night. He asked if it was possible for the cup to be taken away. Was there any other option that would still accomplish God's will? And ultimately, his obedience to the suffering ahead of him became our substitution. For every instance where our sin separates us from God, every time that we choose personal pleasure and comfort over the desires of God, we face the result of punishment, our suffering with eternal death. But because Jesus chose to allow God's will to be fulfilled through his decision to fight through the physical, we have had our cup of death taken away with his sacrifice. 2 Corinthians 5:21, God made him who had no sin to be sin, so that in him we might become the righteousness of God. We had no chance of it by ourselves. We would have faced the death. But Jesus' choice to fulfill God's will allowed for us to have the substitute, to have the sacrifice. There are some substitutions that just don't work at all. With some recipes, the substitute ingredient can actually make the food not cook right. It can make it taste terrible. It could actually even make you sick. Wax paper and parchment paper look really, really, really similar. You don't want to put one of them in the oven. The other one, totally fine. Only one good in the oven. A balloon filled with water might by definition be a water balloon, but it's not a water balloon. If you take a normal balloon and throw it at somebody filled with water, it's not a fun game. Either way, you get welts and you have a balloon that didn't bust. Not every substitution works. And the leaves of some trees have been used as natural toilet paper for people living out in nature. But the gimpy tree is not one of those trees that you can use the leaves of. And someone figured this out and shared it with the world so that they would know to never do this. It is not a substitution in that sense. But there have been some acceptable substitutions. We have some in Scripture that have been wonderful substitutions. Isaac was spared death by a ram that was caught in the brush there. That ram was used as a sacrifice in place of him. The Israelites were spared death in their firstborn by painting blood of a lamb on their doorposts. Also an acceptable substitution. And because of the obedience of Jesus to do his Father's will, we have all been given a substitute for what should be our ultimate punishment for death. We got one last scripture from Isaiah 53. I think every single verse from Isaiah 53 has become a song at some point. So we're going to leave with these verses from Isaiah 53 as just a prayer of thankfulness and of rejoice for what was a prophecy at the time. It becomes a chance for us to celebrate the choice that was made to endure the physical on our behalf. Let's read it. Surely he took up our pain and bore our suffering. Yet we considered him punished by God, stricken by him, and afflicted. But he was pierced for our transgressions. He was crushed for our iniquities. The punishment that brought us peace was on him, and by his wounds we are healed. We all, like sheep, have gone astray. We've made really dumb choices. We have done things that when our body and our spirit want different things, we give in to the body. We've gone astray. Each of us has turned to our own way. And the Lord has laid on him all those failures, all those times that we chose the wrong way, all those times that we slept instead of staying awake to keep watch and pray. The Lord has laid on him the iniquity of us all. Amen?